Welcome to the News9 Mediaverse, and you are watching On Point with me. Pran Pratishtha in Ayodhya will take place on 22nd of January. Work is taking place at a frenzied pace in the city for the big day. Prime Minister Narendra Modi too will be in Ayodhya on 30th of December to inaugurate the new airport. Even before the Pran Pratishtha ceremony, political controversy has broken out on the issue of participation. It's okay. There is some puja, there is some politics. But the day is too important and far beyond the politics, far beyond the bites given by political parties. India's main left party has decided to stay away from it. We will come to it a little later. But before that, let me take you through some of the work that has been done. If you look at this large temple complex, it has thousands, hundreds of columns. On 29th, what sort of deity, the idol, will be placed in the sanctum sanctorum of the temple, the decision will be taken. There will be other deities too, other idols too, their placement, that will be decided. Once that is done, other important decisions will be taken. But if you look at these visuals, the beautification of Ayodhya is taking place. The airport is getting inaugurated. The railway station is getting spruced up. The roads, the old Ayodhya, the bridge, the new Ayodhya, everything is getting done again. The invites have been sent to every person of some connection to the city of Ayodhya. People have been invited from all over the country. And on 22nd, the main puja will take place. But before I go to my subject matter expert and play out the data on the left-hand side of the screen, let me play out a walkthrough of my colleague who from Ayodhya reported as to how the work on those three idols is taking place.
मैं अयोध्या के राम सेवकपुरम में हूँ और ये सबसे महत्वपूर्ण जगह है। वैसे दिख तो रहा पीछे का वो इलाका जहाँ पर आपको याद होगा नेपाल से शिलाएं आई थी, और जब नेपाल से यहाँ अयोध्या तक शिलाएं आई थी तो खूब पूजन हुआ था उसका, लोग अभी उसको देखने आ रहे हैं। लेकिन हम यहाँ इसीलिए आए हैं आपको ये बताने और समझाने के लिए कि राम मंदिर में जो भगवान रामलला की मूर्ति रखी जाएगी, जिसकी प्राण प्रतिष्ठा खुद प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी करेंगे 22 जनवरी को, वो मूर्ति कहाँ बन रही है। तो जिस कैंपस में हैं हम आपको दिखाते हैं। ये वाला जो हिस्सा है वो राम मंदिर का जो दरवाज़ा है वो बन रहा है, उसमें ये जहाँ मना कर किया जा रहा है हमें। और जो गेट होंगे मंदिर के अंदर बनने वाले, लकड़ी के जितने भी दरवाजे बनाए जा रहे हैं वो साउथ इंडिया, दक्षिण भारत से आए हुए लोग, ये जो पूरा टेंट वाला घेरा हुआ है उसमें है। और बिल्कुल सामने का जो हिस्सा दिख रहा है मंदिर के उस साइड का, और दोनों तरफ से ताले लगे हैं। टीन शेड में जो बना हुआ है कमरा है, बहुत बड़ा सा कमरा है, उसमें मतलब हवा भी नहीं जा सकती, इस तरीके से उसकी पैकिंग की गई है। उसमें रामलला की एक मूर्ति बन रही है। और ये जो शिला देख रहे हैं, इस शिला सड़क के उस पार अगर हम जाएँ तो यही राम सेवकपुरम का एक और हिस्सा है। वहाँ भी इसी तरीके से घेरा बनाया हुआ है टीन सेट का, और वहाँ रामलला की दूसरी मूर्ति बन रही है। तीसरी मूर्ति जो है वो विवेक सृष्टि में बन रही है। इन तीनों मूर्ति के बनने का काम बिल्कुल आखिरी दौर में है। 5 साल के रामलला कमल के फूल पर बनेंगे। और जो राम जन्मभूमि ट्रस्ट की तरफ से बताया गया है कि जो मूर्ति सबसे ज़्यादा पसंद की जाएगी रामलला की, वही मूर्ति मंदिर के गर्भगृह में उसकी मूर्ति की प्राण प्रतिष्ठा की जाएगी। और उससे पहले पूरे शहर में मकर संक्रांति के बाद रामलला की उस मूर्ति का नगर भ्रमण कराया जाएगा, यानी लोग उनकी एक झलक देख सकें। जैसे कि जगन्नाथपुरी में क्या होता है कि रथ यात्रा होती है तो उसमें भगवान जगन्नाथ बाहर निकलते हैं, लोग अपने भगवान को देख लेते हैं, कहते हैं कि भगवान भक्तों को दर्शन देने आए हैं। ठीक वही होगा अयोध्या में, जब रामलला की मूर्ति तय हो जाएगी कि कौन सी मूर्ति जो है रामलला की वो राम मंदिर में स्थापित की जाएगी। तो ये जो मूर्तियां बन रही है रामलला की कैसी होंगी, कौन कारीगर बना रहे हैं, वो सब जानकारी तो है, लेकिन कैसी होगी उसकी एक झलक भी नहीं देख सकते। इतनी ज़बरदस्त उसकी घेराबंदी की गई है और कोई भी वहाँ नहीं जा सकता है। इस तरीके के इंतजामात यहाँ पर अयोध्या में किए गए हैं।
So 29th is also a big day. People think the 30th is also a big day. No, there will be a lot of big days. I'm joined by Professor Badri Narayan, author of the book Republic of Hindutva, noted journalist, a political critic. Thank you so much, sir, for joining me on my show On Point. I think there'll be a series of events which will mark, I would say, the tempo for coming day of 22nd. But I think there's a larger point. Do you feel that when we talk about Ayodhya, is the larger political class, especially the opposition, missing that something essentially, intrinsically, has changed about the Indian society and politics? And Ayodhya, as a temple, represents that. It's just not a case of delivery from the court. There is a churn which has resulted in this.
Yeah, indeed, Kartikeya. Thank you for inviting me in your show. And you rightly suggested that Ram Mandir, the entire process of making the Ram Mandir temple, is a representation of cultural churning which is going on in our society, especially the Hindu community. And you know the entire it's a not only event, but it's a process, and also it's a mobilizational process, because you know the way BHP and Vishwa Hindi Parishad and other organizations, allied organizations of the Sangh and the BJP cadres are going house to house, multi-crore houses with the Akshat Patra of invitations, and trying to involve them in this event. So it's event turned as a what I call moment. It's a moment in the history of the India, and also with in the history of the Hindu community. So it's not only it's indeed it's a cultural process, and it shows the churning and churning churning through here this temple appear as a very interesting site of compositions of various kinds of traditions and culture. You know, in this invitation which they are giving to the for the invitation for the inauguration of the event of the temple, in which the various saints from various traditions of the Hindu religion, not only one sect, multiple sects have been invited here. And you know the temple as a complex. You know, they are making the statue of the temple. There in one temple complex, there are multiple temples, and in multiple temples, not only Ram temple, but here you can find Sabri temple, you can find Jatayu temple, you can find the temples of various characters of the Ramayanic story, which matters in the life of the people. You know, Sabri is the icon among marginal communities, among tribals, among Mushas, and they worship Sabri as a their deity. Jatayu has also a kind of totem relationship with the various tribal communities in India. So this temple complex appear as a synthesis of various traditions, various kinds of social alliances, also through cultural representation and through religious representation.
But you know, there's also an added issue here. Do you feel that the Hindutva as a consciousness can only be defined through Ayodhya movement? Because you know it happened at a particular point of time, and you will have a temple in 22nd. So do you think that that will be the be all and end all of the Hindutva consciousness, or there will be another dimension which will be at play once you know the temple is there, open, available for the public?
I think, Kartikeya, a very good question which you are raising. You know what will happen? There is a one interpretation that here is the end. There is no other way. It can't be continue now. And maybe they will have to explore the other issues like Krishna temple, like Mathura, and like Kashi. This kind of opinions are coming. But in my view, even these issues don't emerge as again a mobilizational point of the Hindu Hindutva consciousness. Even this Ram temple will emerge as a identity icon, as a very big symbolic identity icon for the Hindu consciousness, and it will continue in the Hindu consciousness for longer time. It will emerge as a matter of pride, and pride always remain with you, and it appears in different way in your consciousness and identity. So even then, the Mathura issue or the Kashi issue may not emerge. Alone Ram temple will work as a identity symbol even after making the temple.
But Professor, Ram temple, if you look at the booklet which was released by the Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath, it's more like a cultural symbol, You have a temple and you have a temple complex. But this is more like a cultural symbol. I mean to say, it somehow gets integrated with the larger narrative of nationalism. I'm not here to debate and say that religion and nationalism should be two different things or should be fused. Those are things to be decided by the people of the country. But if you look at the way the city itself has developed now in last 6 months, it's fusing itself as a bigger than just a temple. You getting my point, sir?
Yes, indeed, it's happening. Actually, this is a kind of you can say the developmental strategy of the BJP. It happened with the case of Banaras also. So Ayodhya is emerging in two ways with the temple. One is as a big tourist site, it can emerge, and all the facilities and all the attractions which can attract Hindu tourists, not only Hindu tourists, but tourists as such of various communities. They can come and stay there, visit different places as a tourist also. So tourist aesthetics, it will supplement to your, it will touch to your tourist aesthetics. On the other hand, it is going to emerge as a cultural site where you can come not only for Ram temple, various kinds of cultural configurations of Hindu community you can find there. So storytelling, performances, temples, various kinds of things will already they were happening, but now they will happen in a more organized way, more they will get their space, a comfortable space, a pleasurable space for this cultural configurations, cultural reflections. So indeed, you are very right that it's not only a religious temple, it's Ayodhya is emerging as a cultural site. Ayodhya is going to emerge as a tourist site, and it will affect the development of not only Ayodhya.
Or is it because of the fact that the Nehruvian socialism tried to dissect religion and culture, whereas in traditional societies, culture and religion were fused? That's number one. And the religious spaces are also cultural spaces, and they were defined through the process of pilgrims, people who participated there. They were not artifacts or archaic material limited to a particular time and place, open for a particular time during the day. Don't you think that the change has come?
Yeah, indeed. That's the change, and that's the reinvention of tradition, because the secular politics has, as you rightly said, that they made both separate thing, religion and the culture, religion and the tradition. But here you can find that there is a close connections or a kind of close both in one, you can say, religion and culture. And that's the old way of Indian lifestyle, and not only old way, in everyday life also. In Hindu people or Muslim people or various kinds of people, they go to their religious places, and in that process it's a pilgrimage, and in that, in modern term, you can say tourism, religious tourism. So the religious temple has various meanings, not only one meaning, that the religious meaning, cultural meaning, touristic meaning, various kinds of a kind of enjoying the life. Go and
there is one, Professor, that's one issue I would like to take up after a break, because it's like vision, sir. When after 1952, yes, it is important that the cities had to be reinvented. You had Corbusier reinventing traditional space, open space, and we had Chandigarh. But even then you had someone in the Congress, Deputy Prime Minister and then Home Minister Sardar Patel, who spoke about the Jeernodhar of the Somnath temple, and subsequently the one part of the Congress did it. I'll come back to that debate, those issues which remain unresolved immediately after the partition, but after a short break.
Seeing is believing. Or is it? These are your favorite celebrities that you saw in the videos. But what if I told you that they are not?
Today, deepfake is one of the biggest challenges that the digital ecosystem is facing.
Cannot identify what is deepfake and what is real.
We have seen Rashmika Mandana go through the same thing, and this is becoming a common problem.
Everybody is going to be targeted.
The execution there's a laxity in our regulatory execution. In times to come, that is going to cost us a lot.
So the big day is close, that is 22nd of January. There will be details of the tradition, there will be details of religion which a lot of people do not know about as to how the Pran Pratishtha will take place, which muhurat that Pran Pratishtha will take place. We'll come to all of that. But let me play out, and I'll go to Professor Badrinarayan also, who's there with me. But before that, let me play out a walkthrough of my colleague Kundan, who took a sort of a broad view of the work which is taking place in Ayodhya in terms of beautification, in terms of deadline, and in terms of things which are being done and other things which have been assembled in various other parts of this country being put together in Ayodhya for the 22nd.
भगवान राम सूर्यवंशी थे और अयोध्या नगर के मुहाने पर सूर्यवंश का प्रतीक सूरज के 7 घोड़ों को लगाया जा रहा है। इसके लिए बहुत जोर शोर से काम चल रहा है। कहाँ लगेगा, मैं एक तस्वीर दिखाना चाहूँगा। हमारे ठीक पीछे जब आप अयोध्या में बाईपास से आते हैं तो आपको नज़र आएगा ये जो पूरा आप देख रहे हैं बहुत बड़ा एक लोहे का जो स्ट्रक्चर बनाया गया है। इसी स्ट्रक्चर में इस सूरज के घोड़े को लगाया जाएगा और ये जो सामने में आप देख रहे हैं बनता हुआ ये सूरज का घोड़ा बन के तैयार हो रहा है करीब करीब। हमारे साथ हेमंत जी हैं, जो हेमंत जी बताएंगे कि किस तरीके से ये घोड़ा बन रहा है। क्या हेमंत सर एक बात बताएं कि ये क्या खासियत है?
सूर्य रथ है जिसपे ऊपर सूर्य भगवान बने हुए हैं और ये सूर्य भगवान ये लोहे के स्ट्रक्चर पे बनाया जा रहा है जो FRP का बन रहा है।
अच्छा, FRP क्या होता है? ये
फाइबर रिइंफोर्स्ड पॉलीमर होता है। ये काफ़ी इसकी लंबी लाइफ है, ये चलेगा काफ़ी दिनों तक। ये बनाया जा रहा है।
और इसका ये दायरा वगैरह कितना है, हाइट वाइट?
ये 7 मीटर ऊंचा है और करीब 9 मीटर चौड़ा है।
अच्छा, 7 मीटर ऊंचा 9 मीटर चौड़ा
है और 7 मीटर ऊंचे पिलर पे ये रखा जाएगा।
अच्छा, इससे पहले भी आप लोगों ने कहीं इस तरह का बनाया है?
हाँ, पुल वगैरह का काम किया था, इस तरह का काम नहीं किया था पुल वगैरह का।
तो ये अयोध्या में एक तरह से कह सकते हैं सिग्नेचर होगा।
हाँ,
जैसे
प्रवेश द्वार पर एक भव्य प्रवेश द्वार बनेगा, इस पर ये बनाया जा रहा है।
और ये 22 तारीख से पहले बन के तैयार हो
बन गया। 15
इस पे कोई रंग वंग भी होगा?
सभी रंग है जो प्राकृतिक रंग है वो सब लगाए जाएंगे इस पे। हाँ,
अभी ये सूखने का काम किया जा रहा है,
अभी तैयारी चल रही है, 15 तक ये तैयार हो जाएगा।
एक बार चल के देखते हैं जरा सा कि कैसे इसको बनाया जाता है, क्योंकि इसके बनाने की प्रक्रिया भी बहुत सरल नहीं है और इसी प्रक्रिया के तहत जो है इसको बनाया जाता है इस पूरे जो द्वार है। तो अमूमन कितने दिनों में यह बन जाता है?
ये 2 महीने में।
2 महीने का वक्त लगता है
जी।
और आपको ऐसा लगता है कि ये जो है अगर हम इसके हिसाब से देखें, ड्यूरेबिलिटी के हिसाब से देखें तो कितना ड्यूरेबल होता है? और इसमें
काफ़ी समय चलेगा।
ये काफ़ी समय चलता है
जी।
और ये देखिए सामने में जो आपको दिख रहा होगा ये यहाँ पे जो है ये बनाने का काम चल रहा है, बनने का काम चल रहा है। तो आपने जो मटेरियल बताया उसको कैसे कैसे इसको करते हैं एक बार?
ये सब केमिकल है और फाइबर रिइंफोर्स्ड है, फाइबर का बना होता है।
अच्छा,
ये प्लास्टिक का है।
अच्छा,
ये
प्लास्टिक की शीट है। अच्छा, ये प्लास्टिक की शीट है।
हाँ,
और इस पे जो है
फाइबर की शीट है, फाइबर की शीट
है। और इस पे क्ले वगैरह भी यूज होता है कोई?
पहले क्ले पे ही इसको आकृति बनाई जाती है, फिर उस पर डाई बनाया जाता है, फिर उस पर फाइबर।
आइए देखते हैं कि ये कौन सा क्ले है, वो मैं आपको दिखाना चाहूँगा कि ये जो देखिए ये क्ले है, ये खास तरह की मिट्टी है। इस मिट्टी से पहले इसको बनाया जाता है। ये कौन सी मिट्टी बोलते हैं इसको?
ये क्ले ही है, फिनिशिंग पहले बनाने के लिए बनाया जाता है।
अच्छा, और ये देखिए एक बार जब क्ले बना दिया जाता है तो उसके बाद ये क्या से शीट पे बनाया जा रहा है इसको?
ये फाइबर लगाया जा रहा है, पहले इसका बेस लगाया जाता है, फिर फाइबर लगाया जाता है,
उसके बाद फाइबर लगाया जाता है,
फिर ऊपर बेस लगा कर इसको सूखने दिया जाता है, फिर ये हार्ड हो जाता है
और उसके बाद 2 महीने बाद ये बनकर तैयार हो जाएगा और बनकर तैयार होने के बाद इसी स्ट्रक्चर पे इसको फिर माउंट किया जाएगा। निश्चित रूप से अयोध्या का एक तरीके से ये सिग्नेचर स्ट्रक्चर होगा। जैसे ही कोई हाईवे से अयोध्या में प्रवेश करेगा, सूरज के 7 घोड़े एक तरीके से उनका नमन करते हुए नजर आएंगे। भगवान राम,
भगवान भी रहेंगे,
भगवान भी होंगे,
सूर्य भगवान 7 घोड़ों पे सवार सूर्य भगवान रहेंगे।
इसके पीछे का कॉन्सेप्ट क्या है? चूंकि राम सूर्यवंशी थे,
सूर्यवंशी थे, इसलिए सूर्य का इसके प्रतीक के रूप में इसको दिखाया जा रहा है।
तो निश्चित रूप से भगवान राम से जुड़ी हुई हर प्रतीकात्मक चीज को अयोध्या में अंतिम रूप दिया जा रहा है और ये एक ऐसा स्ट्रक्चर बनने जा रहा है जिसको देख के आप बोलेंगे जैसे अयोध्या में प्रवेश करेंगे कि अब मैं राममय हो गया हूं, मैं राम की धरती पे आ गया हूं।
So, Professor, can I say that the French model of secularism has been rejected by the Indian society?
Yeah,
as
indeed.
a governing, as a
think,
socio-political governing tool. Can I say that bluntly?
Yes, indeed. I think you are right that this French model of secularism, which has originated from the Greece interpretation of Greco interpretation of secularism, is rejected by the Indian people. And you know the way secular ideas and secular politics is marginalized nowadays, which says that people of India wants to redefine religion in a very different way. They want to, religion has not only a spiritual, not only a ritualistic meaning for them. Religion provides them a space for opening themselves, a space for coming out, a space for going to the places, a space for interacting with the people, like melas, the going to a temple. They makes our life full of the inner content, full of the pleasure, full of the joy, full of the so it has multiple meanings. And I think I don't know why this and how this secular politics missed this meaning of religion, and they couldn't understand the meaning of religion and relevance of religion in everyday life of the common people of India, especially not only Hindu, in various religions, various religious communities or various communities, you can say. Religion has also everyday life meaning. You can say secular meaning, and secular meaning does not mean that it separates spiritual from secular. Material, you can say material meaning. Everyday life, meaning in everyday life, meaning in each and every moment in the life. You know, our birth to death defined by the religious rituals. We live in those memories. So how it is possible when you become professor, or you become journalist, or you become politicians, you leave this religion and say, no, we are secular. No, secular without religion. You be secular, but religion has always part of the Indian life and the life of the common people as their memory, as their habitus, as their sanskara, you can say, and as their moral the canon which gives the meaning, moral and ethics to the society.
Okay, I think that's very well put. I would say that I would say that the Ram temple injects a new sanskar in the political discourse. Now, those who wants to stay marginalized can reject the political discourse, but the smarter people will understand that this is the mainstream sanskara of Indian politics, and people will need to embrace it rather than question it, because Indian democracy and Indian modernity have to be Indian in nature. They cannot coldly, even boldly and foolishly just be an imitation of French experience or German experience of modernity. Now let me go back to the work which is being done. My colleague Kumar Kundan from TV9 spoke to various people who are working on the project. He was actually there at the site. You know, the last minute touches being given by various people. Let's listen in as to what they are doing.
क्या महिला क्या पुरुष, राम के काम में हर कोई अपनी जोर आजमाइश कर रहा है और जिसको जिस तरीके से जो कुछ भी आता है वो लगा हुआ है। हम अपने सामने में देख रहे हैं कि कार्यशाला में किस तरीके का काम हो रहा है और इस काम में महिलाएं जो हैं बड़ी तादाद में यहाँ पे काम कर रही हैं और ये वो महिलाएं हैं जो शिलाओं को घिसने का काम है वो चल रहा है और ये बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण काम है, बहुत ही बारीक काम है। इसमें वक्त भी लगता है, इसमें मेहनत भी लगता है और इसमें इसके साथ साथ तरह तरह के जो है जुगत भी लगानी पड़ती है। कितना मुश्किल है आप लोगों के लिए ये काम?
मुश्किल तो है मगर हम लोग खुशी से कर रहे हैं, भगवान की सेवा का अवसर मिला है।
अच्छा, तो भगवान की सेवा का मतलब इसी बहाने आपको लगता है क्या?
जी।
कितना टाइम लगता है एक को ये घिसने में?
अभी इतना काला हो गया है, अब इसको घिसते रहना है जब तक ये साफ नहीं हो जाता।
अच्छा, और ये पूरा काम सुबह से आप लोग करते हैं?
हाँ, सुबह 8 बजे से शाम को 5 बजे के।
अच्छा। और ये काम जो है देखिए अम्मा, कितना मेहनत लगता है इसको करने में?
कौन मेहनत लगत भैया, भगवान के काम में मेहनत लगता है।
अच्छा,
अच्छा लगता है करने में काम।
भगवान का काम है इसलिए अच्छा लगता है।
भगवान का काम है इसीलिए अच्छा लगता है, खुशी मिलती है।
ठंड वंड तो नहीं लगता है कि?
नहीं नहीं नहीं,
कहीं कुछ नहीं,
कुछ नहीं।
और ये यहाँ से फिर ये मंदिर में जाएगा?
ये उत्तर मंदिर में जाएगा।
अच्छा,
जाएगा मंदिर में।
तो आप देखिए कि हर उम्र की महिलाएं यहाँ पे लगी हुई हैं जो काम कर रही हैं। अम्मा, सुबह सुबह आ जाते हो यहाँ काम करने? अच्छा, ये बोल नहीं पाती हैं, इनको ये आप लोग सुबह सुबह यहाँ पे आ जाती हैं इसमें काम करने?
हाँ भैया, सुबह सुबह आ जाते हैं।
अच्छा, और एक दिन में क्या एक तराश पाते हैं या नहीं?
नहीं, एक दिन में नहीं हो जाते हैं, 10 दिन 15 दिन लग जाता है।
10 से 15 दिन लग जाता है
जी।
अच्छा, और कोई परेशानी भी आती है?
नहीं, कोई परेशानी नहीं होती।
कोई परेशानी
नहीं।
राम का काम है, सब लोग जो है लगे हुए।
हाँ, राम की सेवा में जुटी है, अच्छा लगता है करे में।
हाँ। कभी थकावट भी होती है कि आपको नहीं हो पाएगा?
नहीं, थकावट नहीं होती है,
कोई थकावट
नहीं।
तो ये देखिए, आपको देखिए तमाम सारी जो महिलाएं हैं वो यहाँ पे लगी हुई हैं काम में और ये वो काम है जिसमें कि धीरे धीरे ही सही लेकिन काफ़ी कितना जोर लगाना पड़ता है इसके लिए?
अरे जोर क्या लगाना पड़ता, बढ़िया काम बैठने कर रहे हैं बढ़िया।
अच्छा,
नहीं है।
और कितने दिनों से कर रहे हैं आप लोग?
हम लोग 1.5 साल से।
1.5 साल से कर रहे हैं। जब से मंदिर बनना शुरू हुआ है तब से आप लोग जो यहाँ लगे हुए हैं?
हाँ।
अच्छा, और आप लोग को भी इंतजार है जब मंदिर बन जाएगा, देखेंगे जाके कि आप लोगों ने बनाया है?
हाँ, हम क्यों नहीं, इंतजार है, मंदिर बन जाए हम लोग देखें। अब इंतजार तो है ही है मंदिर बनने के लिए।
तो आप देखिए कि ये महिलाएं हैं जो पिछले 1.5 साल से इनको भी इंतजार है कि राम मंदिर बने और बड़ी तादाद में ये लोग जो हैं काम कर रही हैं यहाँ पे। ये कार्यशाला है जिस कार्यशाला में महिलाएं सुबह शाम जो है लगी पड़ी हुई हैं और यहाँ पे वो काम कर रही है जिससे कि राम मंदिर का निर्माण होगा।
This was intended to be a terrorist spectacular without precedent.
The plan was to bomb 2 Air India passenger aircrafts simultaneously.
There was a loud explosion and the whole plane just vanished.
The police dropped the ball, the intelligence officers dropped the ball, and the politicians dropped the ball.
It was a conspiracy that destroyed my life. It destroyed 331 lives.
News is now content. Just stream it. Download the world's first news OTT, News9 Plus, ahead of the curve.
वर्ष 2070 तक भारत नेट जीरो का लक्ष्य हासिल करेगा।
There is certainly a wall of capital coming into the clean tech, climate tech space, not just in India but across the world.
This and more, streaming on world's first news OTT, News9 Plus. Download now.
This was intended to be a terrorist spectacular without precedent.
The plan was to bomb 2 Air India passenger aircrafts simultaneously.
There was a loud explosion and the whole plane just vanished.
The police dropped the ball, the intelligence officers dropped the ball, and the politicians dropped the ball.
It was a conspiracy that destroyed my life. It destroyed 331 lives.
News is now content. Just stream it. Download the world's first news OTT, News9 Plus, ahead of the curve.
जानना है तो देखिए, समझना है तो सुनिए, सीखना है तो पूछिए और कमाना है तो खरीदिए। जानकारी, सलाह और निवेश सब एक ही सुपर ऐप पर। पैसे का सवाल है तो जवाब है Money9। आजादी पैसे की, अभी डाउनलोड करें।
So the big day will be on 22nd, the day of Pran Pratishtha. The work has started in every nook and corner in terms of beautification, in terms of completion of the project, in terms of how Ayodhya as a city would look on the day. But 29th is also going to be a big day. So keep tuned in to News9 Live, because on 29th, the idol, which will be the main idol, that Sanctum Sanctorum will occupy, the decision on that will also be taken. I'm joined by Arun Anand, a noted author, who has written extensively on Ayodhya, who has written extensively on the movement, on Hindutva. Arun, how do we see this, the work of Jeernodhar or renovation? Can it just be limited to temple? Is it a symbol of New India? Is it also a symbol of the fact that something in terms of social governance has changed in this country, which is it's like a break from the past?
Karthikeya, first I want to thank you for inviting me for this discussion.
Oh, always be my pleasure. Always be my pleasure, Arun.
Yeah, thank you. See, this, I always say this, and I think this is the thought process also behind those who have kind of run this movement. I'll start with this thing, the first resolution, which of course, we know that RSS has been the main force behind this movement. Now, the first resolution which RSS had passed was in 1959, as far as the temple was concerned, and it was not on Ram Janmabhoomi, it was on Kashi. But then in 1983 onwards, the movement for Ram Janmabhoomi, it took off. And I think contrary to the general perception that it was the RSS which built the movement, it was actually, there was a general, kind of mood among the society to start that movement. And in fact, the BJP came pretty later on in 1989 when it passed a resolution in its Palampur convention regarding Ram Temple. And even RSS also plunged full-fledged into this movement a couple of years later when the mood had really been built. And interestingly, it was ex-Congress leader Daudayal Khanna who had brought this idea of Ram Janmabhoomi liberation or building up a Ram temple in a meeting at Muradabad in 1983, where the former Prime Minister Guljari Lal Nanda was also present, and the then senior functionary of RSS, who later became the RSS Sarsang Chalak, what many people call RSS chief, Rajju Bhaiya, was also present. Rajju Bhaiya was not Sarsang Chalak at that time. I think he was Sar Karyawar General Secretary at that time. Anyway, so this movement, so he brought this issue up, and then later on, a meeting was held of the different spiritual leaders and different leaders of different Hindu sects in Vigyan Bhavan. Then a resolution was passed there, and Shri Ram Janmabhoomi Mukti Yajna Samiti was formed, and this is how then the movement took off. Vishwa Hindu Parishad, RSS, all these people basically came later on. Actually, this movement was, started by the various, what you call the religious leaders of various Hindu sects. And so this also sets up this also gives you a very interesting, point that it is not that RSS generally sets up an agenda and then mobilizes the society to move according to that agenda. Contrary to that, RSS sees that what is the mood of the society and then it follows that agenda. Otherwise, should have started, the Gyan the agitation for, Kashi before the Ram Janmabhoomi. For RSS and those who have run this movement, it is not a religious issue. It's basically a core civilizational issue. They feel that, I'll just put it simply to end my comment, that this simply say that it's a clash of civilizational values. On one hand, you had Babur, Babri mosque or the disputed structure represented those civilizational values that where you cannot coexist if you do not follow my or a particular way of worship. Whereas the Ram temple is an indication that you can coexist, and that feeling of and that essence of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam.
But why are people so surprised? In 1950s, when Sardar Patel and Madan Mohan Malviya, they got Somnath temple renovated. Why is it a surprise that, when the Prime Minister goes to a religious site, I mean to say, no one was surprised in 1950s. Nehru didn't go, but the entire Congress, a big section of the Congress party, actually funded the renovation of Somnath temple.
See, it's largely, I think, Kartike, you have also provided the answer to this question to a large extent, and you have been tracking Congress, for so long, and your understanding of the Congress. So we are is phenomenal. I have seen. See, the thing is that Congress was largely a centrist party at that time. Or largely, Congress had a significant section of leaders. You had like Purushottam Das Tandon, and as you mentioned, Sardar Patel and Madan Mohan Malviya. So, and even Shyama Prasad Mukherjee at one point of time was part of the cabinet, Nehru cabinet. So there was a significant number of leaders who were right of the center. So it was quite possible. But what happened post 1962 war, and especially when Indira Gandhi came, and the Congress started moving towards left of the center. And that's how to be a Hindu, to assert yourself as a Hindu, or to even pronounce yourself as a Hindu. So it became quite a liability in Congress, and Congress put the Hindu society on defensive. I remember in 1980s there used to be, the situation was so bad that RSS and its inspired organizations were running a campaign. It's called Garv Se Kaho Hum Hindu Hain. Merely, to put that sticker on your car or scooter, or, on your refrigerator or on your Almira. So that itself, was considered to be something very big. So I think this Congress, and now Congress has completely moved towards hard left. So that's why, because
I'm just stopping you here. You use the word hard left. Let me play out bite of Sitaram Yechury on this. Then people will know what hard left is.
पहली बात तो ये है कि नृपेंद्र मिश्रा साहब एक वीएचपी के नेता के साथ आकर हमें आमंत्रण किया, और ये आमंत्रण हम स्वीकार किए। उसके बाद हमने उन्होंने पूछा नहीं आएंगे या नहीं आएंगे, तो उसको जवाब नहीं दिया। अब ये बाकी ये जो प्रचार जो चल रही है, लेकिन इसके अंदर एक बात स्पष्ट रखना चाहूंगा मैं। देखिए, धर्म जो है वो एक पवित्र संबंध है एक आत्मा और एक परमात्मा के बीच में। कौन होगा परमात्मा जिसके अंदर आस्था है हर व्यक्ति का, वो आस्था का हम पूरी की पूरी इज्जत करते हैं, संरक्षण करते हैं, वो अधिकार का हर इंसान के लिए। तो जहां तक आस्था और धर्म की बात है, उनके लिए हमारा पूरा का पूरा इज्जत है, रेस्पेक्ट। लेकिन
And now let me play out the bite of Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi, who gave a counter to that. Former Union Minister. I'll play that out bite little later. But let me go to Arun. Arun, we were talking about the hard left, the turn which the Congress has taken. But what will be the journey of Kashi and Mathura then? You're saying that the Kashi was an issue taken up by RSS way before Ayodhya. So what will be their light? Because both have become sub judice now. Can you unmute yourself?
See, there are two significant differences in this. One is that when RSS had taken up that, they had not actually taken up the cause, but they had passed a resolution in 1959. RSS did not have that kind of strength. Neither they had, that kind of, nor there was a situation, we know that at that time it was Bharatiya Janata Sangh, who later became BJP. So it was Congress dominated political scene, and that kind of political support was not there, as we can see the kind of political support is there now with BJP being in power. So one is that the situation is pretty different, but one thing is very clear, that it will be done ultimately through the routes of through the judicial route. That RSS has been very clear about it. I think BJP has also been very clear about it, that the law of the land has to be followed. That's why even after the Allahabad High Court decision had come, and most of the key issues had been settled in the Allahabad High Court decision on Ram Janmabhoomi. But even after that, for more than a decade, in which almost half a dozen Chief Justice got retired, and the case started again on the bench. But they waited, and they never said that we will not accept the decision. Whatever the decision of the Supreme Court, they said that they will accept it. So this is exactly the same route they are going to take. I think the Places of Worship Act, I think that will be under scanner, and that will have to see whether they can skirt around that, or whether it is going to get amended. So I think that would be an interesting thing, because if they try to amend it, I think people will go against that to the judiciary. But largely it will be either through a legislative process, or it will be through a judicial process, or it will be through a combination of both these things. I think this is what we are witnessing right now in Gyanvapi Masjid case, and in Shri Krishna Janmabhoomi case also. And they also know that they are in for a long haul. When Balasaheb Devaraj, the third Sarsang Chalak, when he was asked by the RSS senior functionaries that whether we should, whether the organization should go into the Ram Janmabhoomi movement. So at that time he had said that it will take at least 3 decades and a lot of energy of the organization. So if you want to take up this, that's for all the top brass to decide. So if my understanding is that RSS would be looking at both these places in terms of reconstruction of Bhavya temple, just as they have done in Ayodhya, and doing away with the mosques there, but through a legislative process and in for a long haul, probably at least a couple of decades.
Okay, Arun, before I let go of you, in last 40 years, the idea of RSS became monodimensional to a lot of people. It got inextricably linked to Ayodhya. But RSS is a multi-dimensional organization. Post Ayodhya, post 22nd, what will be its, narrative engagement? 2018 when Mohan Bhagwat did a bigger press conference, the whole shift was to the idea of Hindutva, it was not on Ram temple. So post 22nd of January, will there be a shift?
No, I don't think, there will be a shift in post 2022. In fact, over the last couple of decades, see, when RSS plans something, they do it at a scale of, 30, 40 years. So they had started it a couple of decades back, and I think they'll continue with that. They're focusing more and more on what you call the Samajik Samrastha. And that's why, this Shri Ram temple will also kind of become a kind of a fulcrum for that movement, where, people belonging to all castes can, get under that umbrella of Hindutva. And the focus of RSS has been on removing the fault lines created by the caste discrimination and serving the marginalized sections of the society, empowering them, the socio-economically backward. I think that is they will continue to work on, and that is how they look at temples also. That in the ancient
and that is how they look at Ayodhya also, sort of a unifying factor, which overcomes the caste faults.
Absolutely, you're correct.
But I think that's the mistake the left has been making. They only locate Ram Mandir, Ram temple, Ram movement in just context of religiosity. They don't locate it in context of cultural rejuvenation and people to blur the caste identities? Arun? Arun, is it correct?
Yeah, Karthikeya, can you? I
said that people. I think the mistake which the left is making is to only locate Ram Temple as a religious place of worship. They don't see the larger cultural issue attached to it, social issue attached to it.
Absolutely, and I'll tell you from where the fundamentally flawed understanding because of the Marxist framework. I was listening to the bite which you had played of Sitaram Yechuri, where he was talking about where he could not differentiate dharma with religion. There is a difference between dharma and religion. He was talking about dharma. Dharma is a way of life. Religion is a way of worship. Supreme Court has said that Hinduism is a dharma. Hinduism is not a religion. It's not a particular way of worship. So there can be overall umbrella under which Muslims, Christians, you may call it Sanatan.
Arun, even Krishna in Gita never spoke about religion. He spoke about dharma. He spoke about the path. I think those intricacies of Sanatan is lost on the hard left. Thank you so much, Arun, for joining me on my show. So the big day is coming. 29th is a big day. 30th of December is a big day. 22nd is a big day. We will have continuous, constant, regular, updated coverage on Ayodhya. Because it's just not about temple. It's about the larger pulse of this country called Bharat. But before I let go of you, let me talk about News9 Plus, our sister concern. They made a wonderful documentary. On October 27, 2023, the world awakened to a new crisis. It's a new turn in the 70 years old civil war. Yes, I'm not talking about a faraway region. I'm talking about the one that has grave implication for India and Southeast Asia. News9 examines the mayhem in Myanmar.
On October 27, 2023, the world awakened to a new crisis. A new turn in a 70 years old civil war. One that has grave implications not just for India, but also